Welcome to Easy Eats. My name is Chef Yves Dechaine, and I'm here in the Greener Village's Learning Kitchen with Amanda Hudson, a holistic nutritionist. Hi, Amanda. Thank you for joining me today.
Hi, thank you for having me.
My first question, Amanda, is we all know what a nutritionist is, or we have an idea of what a nutritionist is, but what's a holistic nutritionist, and how is it different than a regular old nutritionist?
A holistic nutritionist focuses more on all systems of the body.
Okay.
So it's not just digestive, it's also your endocrine system, like your circulatory system, everything kind of together and how each thing can affect each other. So in dietetics, they focus mostly on like how food affects your body. And in my practice, I focus on how food affects your body, how you can use it for prevention, and also how stress or sleep and stuff is tied into your overall wellness too.
Okay, so food as a whole, so food is medicine and you are what you eat kind of deal is what you're...
Yeah, and that you can really use food to support any health ailment or health prevention that you're looking for.
Now, if someone was interested in something like that, how did you go about getting your training?
I went to CSNN, it's the Canadian School of Natural Nutrition, and you can just apply and go there. For me, I became interested in becoming a nutritionist. I had some health problems that Western medicine couldn't solve. And then I was sent to a practitioner who did the same thing I do, and then we did some food adjustments, did some eliminations, and then I felt 1,000 times better. And I was like, oh, this is pretty neat. And then I had a child, and like most parents, you have a child and you're like, oh, this tiny thing, I want to keep it so like healthy and well and do everything for it. And it really catapulted me into wanting to do more.
Perfect. And then you take that knowledge and you help people. So you've got a business or a consulting business called Nourished with Amanda?
Yes, my business is Nourished with Amanda, and I teach people, how to meal plan, how to balance their plate, how to find light structure and good sleep and stress management for overall well-being. And I have a lot of clients say like, oh, I didn't realize drinking more water could have such an effect on my energy, or making sure that I get like 7 to 8 hours of quality sleep could actually make it so that I don't want to like go ravenous in my pantry in the middle of the afternoon.
Well, that's great. I know that when we met doing a project here at the Greener Village, a meal planning kind of system that we'll touch on a little bit later. But one thing that I pulled from you is drinking a big glass of water the first thing in the morning. And I mean, it does a world of difference. I feel energy kind of going right down through me every morning. It's like a cold drink of water, and then I get ready for the day. So can you explain to me why I feel so good if I drink a glass of water, and then the days that I don't, I kind of feel sluggish?
Yeah, so when you think about it, you just spent hopefully 8 hours sleeping, and in that time you're not hydrating at all. So you wake up in a dehydrated state. So to fuel yourself back up with the water is really going to help get your system going, help wake you up, help it make easier on your joints for moving.
Wonderful. So like you said, so to get yourself, I guess, how do you get yourself to a reset? So you're feeling bad and stuff like that. Like, how does a reset happen? Like, how do you go from, like, is it a quick change? Is it a long change? When you consult somebody, how long does it take, or how do we follow you forever, or do you?
No, the goal for me always is to teach so that you can do it yourself.
Okay.
But all that being said, it takes a little bit of time because rushing it never works. A quick fix isn't something that actually works. I mean, everybody wishes it did, but it doesn't. So I always do one step at a time. So if maybe for the first week, if you don't drink water, and that's something that we see when I go through your whole, outline, that's something you need to incorporate, then we're gonna celebrate the mini goal of like, we drank 2 liters of water today, and we're going to do that for 7 days until we have it nailed in that every day I'm drinking this much water, and then we're going to go to the next thing. I do it in small steps, but it's never usually a long transition. I've never had a client for more than 8 months. So we really kind of narrow in on their goal and then move forward from there.
So you're kind of like a trainer at the gym. So when I used to go to the gym and I had a trainer come in and help me find my goals, so weight loss goals, or you want to bulk up and stuff like that, that's kind of what you offered, isn't it?
Yeah, I offer I'm going to teach you all the things that you need to know, so eventually it's mindless for you. You know what your plate should look like. You kind of know how to meal plan and get through a week so that you're not feeling come 5 o'clock in the evening, you're like, oh my gosh, what am I going to have for supper? You'll know that, like, hey, on Sunday I wrote down and bought a couple of things to hold me through for the week. Or I can teach you how to be like a strict meal planner if that's what works for your personality. It really depends, right? Yeah, and I just work with people to help them meet their goals in an easy way, an attainable way.
Holistically is finding everything you need there instead of popping pills and getting what you need.
Right, and if I do prescribe like a supplement for a client, it's usually a natural supplement, like maybe it's curcumin, like maybe we're using some turmeric to help with inflammation or something like that, but it's never anything like over the counter or anything that totes like weight loss quickly, you know, take all these in 1 month and you'll get there. That's just not reasonable.
You're putting in what you're putting out and all that stuff, which is great. So I guess to get started, you kind of help people out with a meal plan, I guess, is how things happen. And I guess how important is, I guess, breakfast? Because there's a lot of people and we get a lot of different information, like there's intermittent fasting and there's on and off fasting. There's a gentleman I know who eats one day and doesn't eat the next day. And I mean, it works for him. And if it works for him, that's great. But I mean, what are your thoughts on that type of thing? Is that something that's safe to do, or is that something that you should really...
That's another thing with holistic nutrition. It really sees every person as bio-individual.
Okay.
So everybody is their own person. So something that works for you might not work for me, and vice versa. Intermittent fasting is totally a tool that works for some people. Different types of diets are totally tools that work for some people. But you want to have a toolbox of more than just one tool that works for you. So meal planning is great. It's a great way to like start. And like I said, intermittent fasting works. As far as breakfast, you mentioned, that's really truly breaking the fast, right? So from when you went to bed, unless you have sleepwalking, I don't think you're munching throughout the night. So whenever you went to bed or you last ate, the next time you eat is when you break the fast. So whenever that is for your individual needs, that's fine. I do always recommend breaking it with protein because we have 8 different hunger hormones in our body, and protein helps to satiate a majority of those. So that means that you're going to have calmer energy, you're going to have a lower blood sugar curve, so you're not going to go super high on your, I like to call it a roller coaster, and then crash back down and be like hangry and being like, I need coffee and muffins like an hour later. If you have something with protein in it, it's going to be more sustainable and be able to ride you out on a good energy curve till your next meal. It's also great, I always say, too, for kids. Like, it's a great option for kids to have protein in the morning before they go to school. So instead of a bowl of like sugary cereal, and don't get me wrong, there's a place for cereal.
Absolutely, yeah.
But if you give them something with protein, then they're going to be able to focus better at school. They're going to have more energy to be engaging in their classroom, and they're probably not going to crash before snack time.
Well, that's great. And on that point, that's what we're going to do today. We're going to start off with breakfast, and I'm going to show everyone how to make this lovely breakfast burrito that you can make lots of, store, and then take as you go. So it's one of those things where it's eating breakfast on the go. Like you said, when you're breaking the fast, you need protein to give you that energy to go.
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to do. Welcome back to Easy Eats with Chef Yves. I'm here again in the Greener Villages kitchen with Amanda Hudson. Amanda, we're going to be making a burrito now. Breakfast burrito, like you were saying, breakfast and protein. So this is a great way to incorporate protein in the morning. And I always find it's a quick way to get it into you, I guess, because we all run and lead busy lives. So you want something that's going to be quick, that you can eat. I know that eating in the car isn't something you should be doing, but we all do it, right? Exactly.
The morning rush happens to everybody.
So a burrito's great because you can hold it in one hand and then off to work you go if you're running late. I always tell the kids that I teach, you want to save 20 minutes, you want to sleep in for 20 minutes, this is how you got to do it on the other end. So we'll show you how to do it. Okay. So we're going to do a really simple burrito. We're going to use some onions, some peppers, some ham, and some cheese. But again, you can put anything you want in it, really, right?
Yeah.
So we're going to start off really easy. We're just going to grab some margarine and we're going to melt that up. And all I'm going to do is we're going to just start sauteing the vegetables. So we'll add our onions. So we're adding probably about half an onion. You can use red onion or white onion.
Favorite.
And then we're going to add some green pepper. And again, peppers, mushrooms, anything that you really want in there.
Yeah. I mean, this is great. You're already adding all the fiber you're going to need to help expand your stomach and keep you full. Another great addition, you could always add spinach or maybe microgreens if you're not, I find they're less flavorful if you're adverse to having, greens. Yeah, that would be great.
Perfect. So yeah, and anything that's in your pantry, any kind of vegetable.
Yeah.
But like you were saying, so spinach and things with high in fiber, high in
High
iron.
in fiber, high in phytochemicals, help release some antioxidants, help your body fight.
Nice. So we're just going to saute these up, and then we're going to season them. So while seasoning them, I'm going to put a little bit of pepper and a little bit of salt. While we're doing salt, let's touch on that. What's good salt? What's bad salt? Let's talk about the salt that we have on our kitchen tables here. Okay. So I'm using sea salt.
Perfect.
But we also have the salt that you get at the restaurants, the one with the iodine.
Right. So salt gets a bad rap for sure.
It does, yeah.
And it's very much needed in your diet to have salt. And I mean, you can make food taste a lot better if you add salt to it. Makes it more palatable even for children as well. Sea salt is the way to go. If you can avoid table salt, that's your best bet is to avoid that. If you've been told to be like on a diet of lower sodium, I would still stick again to the sea salt only. It has more of a nutritional value for you. It's going to work in your body a little better than the salt that's been iodized.
Okay, and then why? That's my question. Is it because sea salt is flakier and there's kind of less into it, or is it because of the iodine put into the salt?
It's because it hasn't been processed.
Okay, so yeah, and that's something I didn't know. I knew that there was iodine put into the salt,
yes,
but I didn't know that it was processed to the point where they were kind of changing the chemical.
Yeah, and like adding salt, if you're removing more of like the processed foods from your day to day, adding salt on some vegetables and roasting them, adding them to vegetables that you're going to saute is a great way to make sure that you're getting enough sodium.
No, that's fantastic. So what we're going to do now is you can do it one of two ways. You can either, because I've got picky eaters at home, so we make different wraps. Okay. So what I'll do is I will saute the vegetables first, and I will take them out, and then I'll saute the protein that I'm putting into it, and then I'll do the eggs separate. That way we're building a burrito just like at the restaurant. So, and the kids love it because then it's like a wrap bar. They can build their own and then they put it together.
And how fun for them to keep them involved and they get to choose what's going on their plate. That's great.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to touch on too, is how important is it? I mean, as a holistic nutritionist, it's not just about food, but it's about the way in your relationship with food. So getting kids involved, how important is that?
So important. I always say exposure equals preference, especially for kids. So if you have like a picky eater, and exposure doesn't necessarily mean that they tasted it. It could be that they saw it, they touched it, they cooked with it, they saw somebody else eat it. Those all count as exposure. And the more exposure over time, the more likely they are to prefer that food.
Well, that's great. And what we call it in the industry called a taste memory. So the more you taste, the more you understand. So if you've tasted ham and and you've tasted onions and peppers, you know that those two flavors will probably go well together. So it helps you as a chef kind of pick and choose and have an understanding, even though you've never tasted them before, you know that these may go together.
Right.
So we're just frying the ham. So I used probably about a half pound of ham, so about 250 grams of protein. But again, you can use, like you said earlier, tofu if you wanted to, mushrooms. You can even use beans. We can actually make a breakfast burrito with beans.
Yeah, absolutely. There's so many varieties, which is good because it can give I tend to hyperfixate on something I love and I'll eat that for a while and then I'm like, okay, I'm done. I need something else. So this is a way to kind of have something similar, still fast and easy for breakfast, but you could switch the ingredients up and have a different taste.
Well, that's exactly it. The same but different.
Yeah.
Right? So we're just going to fry that up just a little bit, and then we're just going to switch that out. And then I'm just going to scramble the eggs. Now, eggs. Let's talk eggs. Are they the perfect protein? I mean, I've heard it being said that eggs are the perfect protein. So
they are. I love eggs. You know, people always want to go for a protein bar or a protein ball. And in my opinion, a hard-boiled egg is the perfect protein ball. Like, it has everything you need in it. It's a great snack. They're so easy to add to salads, to wraps, to anything. They're easy to throw in a lunchbox as well, which is great. Well,
absolutely. And that's, it is too bad. I mean, our school, or my children's school, unfortunately, there's a young one with an egg allergy, so we can't bring any eggs or anything like that. So that's the downfall, I guess, of some of these. So we're going to crack some eggs here. I just do salt, pepper, and a little bit of water sometimes to get them fluffy.
Yeah.
Sometimes I use milk. Which one would be better, I guess, for breakfast, or is it just a matter of preference?
I think where you're having the cheese for some healthy fats, you could skip on the milk and do water if you wanted. You could probably even, well, you're the chef, would you be able to add like an olive oil or an avocado oil to help make it fluffy, or?
Well, no, I would use the oil into the pan.
Okay.
Exactly. So what we're doing is just adding a little bit of steam into the egg. That's what the milk does, and the water does. So it just makes it a little bit fluffier.
Okay.
There we go. So we're just going to mix about 6 eggs. We'll do 4 wraps. So you're about an egg per wrap, but you want to make them a little bit filled. Yeah, exactly. Oops, we got some crackling going on here now. There we go. But yeah, nice hot pan, and it works great.
Yeah.
Oh, move that out of the way right here. And the idea is just kind of keep on moving it. We can make an omelet, but we're not making an omelet. We're making scrambled eggs. So I'll just turn that down.
Scrambled eggs is it's actually surprising to me how many clients that I have that don't know how to scramble an egg, and that's where we start. And it's also a great place for kids to start incorporating them in the kitchen, because it's kind of hard to
it's a technique,
really mess them up, right?
It's hard to mess them up, but they're also, if some of my chefs were watching me right now, they'd be screaming at the television. But I mean, because there shouldn't be any color. But I mean, we're making them and we're hiding them in a burrito. And again, we're just kind of. But the idea is you don't want to overcook your eggs.
Right.
So right where I am right now, it may seem like they're not cooked, but they are, because they'll carry over.
Yeah.
And they'll get nice and fluffy. And the last thing you want is dry egg in your burrito, especially with these ones here. If you're not going to eat them fresh, if you're going to freeze them.
Yeah.
Then that moisture, when you freeze, gets pulled out.
Okay.
And then it'll just be a little bit drier. Okay. So.
They look delicious.
Well, thank you. We're back with Easy Eats with Chef Yves, with Amanda Hudson. We're going to build the burritos that we just made. So I'm going to show you guys how to build one, and then Amanda, you're going to build another one with me, okay?
Okay.
Perfect. So it's really simple. We'll just grab a canvas or the tortilla, and then we're going to add the amounts that you want. So we're going to add a little bit of egg right here, right down. And when you're building your burrito, the idea is to build it right in the middle. So you're looking for it just like that, and we're going to add, and I mean as much or as little as you want, because you're building them yourself, right? There we go. So we used butter to fry up these vegetables and stuff like that, but budget friendly, or I guess margarine. So what's the difference, and which one is better?
Butter 100% is a better route. There's no need to really avoid a healthy fat. Grass-fed butter is a great healthy fat to use, and it's preferred over margarine because margarine is processed and has chemicals added to it, and it's something that's shelf stable for multiple years isn't necessarily always something that you want to be consuming on a regular basis.
So we're saying that again is natural over processed.
Yeah.
There's your difference. So you said good fat, bad fat.
Yeah.
Walk me really quick. What's the difference?
Okay, so like a good healthy fat would be like cheese, avocado, olive oil, anything like that. And a bad fat would be something that's more processed. So you're thinking of like your canola oils, your margarines, your sunflower seed oil, something that has to be hyper processed in order to be produced. Usually uses hexane in the process. A good rule of thumb, I say, if you can actually squeeze the fruit and a juice or a liquid comes out of it, chances are it's a good fat. Like you could squeeze an olive and see stuff, but if I squeeze a sunflower seed, probably not so much.
Okay, cool. All right, so once everything is in the middle, just like this, it's in the envelope is basically what we're doing, and we're creating an envelope. You've done it in crafts when you were a kid. All you're going to do is, and there's different ways of rolling a burrito. The way I do it is I pull everything in so these things touch, and then, like I said, it's an envelope. I pull up, and then I tuck.
Okay.
And then once everything is tucked, you just roll it really loosely. You don't want it too tight, because if it's too tight, it'll burst at the seams.
Right.
And then you don't want to bring a new one. So there you go. And then all you do is you wrap it just like that. So I will give you yours.
Okay.
And we'll move. And then I'll grab one more here. And then there we go. We'll start building it. And again, there's no real order in building them. You can start with your cheese. You can start with your egg.
Start with anything you prefer.
Any way you prefer. Just like that. And you could even just not put any egg in there if you didn't want to put any egg in there.
Oh, I love an egg.
There we go. Now, let's talk about whole wheat and white bread. So we're using white wraps today because that just happens to be what I had in the fridge at the Greener Village. But with the processed wraps that we have today, is there really a difference between whole wheat and white bread?
There would be a little bit more fiber in the whole wheat. Overall, a wrap is a wrap. You can get, nowadays, I'm going to pass on the cheese today. This looks delicious, though. You can get different wraps. You could get like almond flour wraps, cassava flour. Cassava flour ones are actually pretty easy to make too, just cassava flour and water, to the right consistency. Put them in a tortilla press. So there are other options that could give you more of a nutritional punch. However, it's nice to have you have a good carb in with the rest of your meal. And if you're including your protein, fiber, fat in there, having your preference, whether it's white or whole wheat, whatever you prefer, really. You can make anything work, whatever your preference is. Now you're gonna have to show me this again because I'm not a great burrito
So what we're gonna do is you're gonna bring it in
on the sides, okay?
Just like that. And the trick is you don't want them to be folded over.
Okay.
You just want them to touch a little bit, and then you're gonna grab that and pull it up to the top.
Okay.
And then tuck it in.
All right.
There you go.
This might be the best one I've ever made.
And there you go. And then you roll it up loosely, and there you go. You've got
wonderful
a burrito that's good to go. But if you wanted to, say, freeze these, and then, you know what I mean, everyone's got a busy life. So you can make a dozen of these, a couple dozen of these, and then all we need to do is just wrap them up with a little bit of parchment paper.
Okay.
So if you want to grab your parchment paper, we grab it. And again, it's just like wrapping the wrap. You roll it, and then you fold on the sides, and then roll it some more. And then you grab a piece of foil once you're done as well. Okay. And then you do the same thing. You just kind of tuck and roll.
And how great for a meal plan to make your burritos ahead of time, and then hey, I have breakfast right on hand. Pop it out of the freezer, and you can take it with me.
And you can sleep in an extra 20 minutes because all you do is you take these out. You take the foil off before you put it in the microwave, of course. Or these are great. You can put these just like this with the foil.
Yeah.
And you have the parchment paper. You bake it in the oven, and then they get really nice and crispy. So
delicious.
Or your air fryer. I guess that's the new thing now.
Yeah.
You take them out, put them in the air fryer. They get nice and crispy.
Only takes a couple seconds. You might get 5 more minutes of sleep that day.
Exactly. Thank you so much, Amanda, for coming in and talking to us today. Now I know a little bit more what the difference between a dietary nutritionist and a holistic nutritionist is.
My pleasure. Thank you so much for having me.